Welcome to the Weightlifting Way of Life podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Capers, joined by Bailey Forrest and Dr. CJ DePalma. And today we have some awesome guests for you. Some guys that are very well respected in the weightlifting community. Coach Andrew Mattox and Luke Belliveau. Both of them are coming from AMP training. We're super excited to have them on. Guys, thank you for being with us and thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So we just had a few questions we want to ask you and find out more about your awesome freak factory you have down there. AMP training, if you're a Florida weightlifting coach, you definitely know who you guys are. If you are a weightlifting coach anywhere in America, you've at least seen your athletes on the top of the podium. Can you kind of give us a background of how you got started?
We actually got started back in March of 2013. So we are actually just starting our 5th year of owning this gym in the right direction. I got into weightlifting as well as Luke through Florida high school weightlifting, man. Just pretty much how our entire state, if you've ever been a real good weightlifter out of the state of Florida for Olympic weightlifting, chances are you did high school weightlifting at least once. The state championships are huge. I was high school weightlifter for 4 years for Spruce Creek High School. We actually just won our 27th state championship in high school weightlifting.
That's the Mecca for sure.
What's up?
I said that's the Mecca. Definitely the Mecca of FHSAA weightlifting at least.
So, yeah, we've, we got a great program coming over there. But I actually played Division I college football and Division I track and field down at FIU, which is in Miami.
Wow.
I got my degree in exercise physiology. Unfortunately, I ruptured my Achilles tendon my senior year of college football, so any shot to try and play professional football was, it was far and few in between at that point in time. So came back to Daytona Beach, where my hometown is, and started up a gym, and I haven't looked back since. Luke can tell you a little bit about his background here too.
Yeah, Luke, we'd love to hear about your background as well.
I pretty much started and came up the same way as Mattox did here through the Florida high school ranks. I wasn't lucky enough to lift at the Mecca over at Spruce Creek. I actually lifted for the Rivals at New Smyrna, which we actually were coached by an old Creek lifter by the name of Tim McRae. He's I don't know if you're a weightlifting historian at all, but he actually just got inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2016 for USAW and was a 2-time Olympian.
Wow.
And, I earned my bearings kind of under him. And then after I graduated, I was actually training on the side of my house on a piece of plywood. That's actually where Mattox found me. I was pretty much posting videos from the outside and side of my house, right, listening in the sun and the Florida sun. And Mattox was like, hey, I got this spot I just opened up. Why don't you come train? And that's literally how it started, man. It was me and Mattox, and we had 1 or 2 other guys with us, maybe kind of just sitting at the gym for 12 hours a day. And then 5 years later, kind of here we are with the whole army.
Man, that's awesome. That's a great story. I love the just getting it done however you have to, lifting outside. That's so sick. Andrew, if you don't mind to throw it back to you. So how did you go from, what was that transition like, athlete, finishing your athletic career to going to be a gym owner? What did that journey look like?
So it was definitely difficult at first. I'd come back here and immediately, right when I got back from college football, I had rehab for probably about 8 months at that point in time, 9 months. Got my ankle back feeling all right. I actually got back into training a little bit. I guess a little bit, if you want to call it that. But, got back into lifting with my old team, got back into lifting at the high school again. And, I just found I actually got away from Olympic weightlifting for a little while. I was a 2-time junior national medalist, or 1-time junior national, 1-time youth national medalist. And I got out of it, my senior year to go play football. But even in high school, I always wanted to pursue weightlifting, whether it be, weightlifting coaching. I loved weightlifting from from when I started touching the barbell, and I fell in love with it. So I knew that I was going to come back here, and, I wanted to make the best athletes in the country. That's my goal. That's still my goal to this day. But it's definitely a transition that was very hard, going from the athletic background of having the coaches tell you what to do, what to eat, when to sleep, how much water to drink, how much stretching you're doing. You didn't have to think of anything pretty much. Now I'm the leader. I have to try and guide all these athletes into figuring out how to do things. And it was definitely a big change up.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
I was going to say, so you transitioned back to Daytona. So how did you start coaching? Did you just walk in and you were the coach, or were you assistant, or how does that work? Or how did that process happen?
No, so I got a job right when I got back here. My degree did not help me out in a lot of the Daytona area. Exercise physiology is a very niche degree that there wasn't a whole bunch of spots open here.
Preaching to another physiologist. I got you. I said I'm the same. I have an undergrad in exercise phys as well. Couldn't do anything with it.
Yep. So, went about it. Got my CSCS. Got, my NASM personal training certs, everything like that. Still somewhere, but I was just, I had a vision of, why not? And one day I come back here that I absolutely hated. I got out and started out notes on company, how to get my own LLC, how to get new bank accounts, how to get funds, how to really go about it. And I jumped right into it. By the time I grabbed that notebook and I had the idea, I jumped right into it. And immediately I started out in a 1,000 square foot warehouse with 4 platforms and a bathroom right in the middle of it. It was a warehouse gym, just as you can think of it, and as small as can be. And just kept on going from that, that direction. Now we are in a 10,000 square foot facility. We have 13 platforms. We have more squat racks than you can think of. So it's been a journey.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's quite the quite the story, and that one's really, really cool. So you guys, we talked about where you started at. We want to talk about where you're at now. So if you could give us a rundown of your extensive accomplishment list of what you've done, both of you coaches together, and what your athletes have done. We definitely want to hear that extensive list.
So just a little bit on the team side of things. I'm not huge on the individual side. I try to the whole reason I started this gym is I wanted to create a weightlifting family. You see a lot of coaches have the 1 to 2 stud athletes. Well, my goal when I started this, and my goal till the day I die, is I want hundreds of stud athletes. I want to be the best team to walk the country. I want people to, when we come into meets, they know who we are exactly, what any team would. I want to be the New England Patriots of weightlifting. I want to win everything. But so far what we've done, we are the back-to-back under 25 national champions. We are the back-to-back women's Florida state champions for Olympic lifting. We won the men's state championship last year, or 2 years ago. 8 squad won last year, and we've been we've been runner-up state champs twice. So we won in 2016, we lost last year, and we were runner-up in 2015 as well. We just qualified a world team member to the University World Team, Allie Fleming, in the 63s. So we actually fly out to Poland for that in September. We have a guy right now sitting at the number 177 spot on the junior team. His name is Cameron Mitchner, so he's very, very highly ranked to go for the Pan Am team, also in September in Nicaragua. We broke dozens of state records on this team. And if you break an Olympic weightlifting state record in the state of Florida, I don't care if it's a youth state record or a senior state record, if any team or any coach in the country goes and looks at those state records, there are some names on there. There are some big-time totals. I mean, our state record for our heavyweight, Pat Judge, I want to say was snatching, high 70s, clean jerking 221, 222. So our strongest heavyweight right now, that, Kane Wilkes is doing around those numbers. But we've had multiple American records from our youth athletes, and we have a potential 5 to 6 more international lifters coming up this year with Derek Beauchamp. We have a kid named Caleb Guthrie coming up. one of my top female athletes, Kaylee Anderson, is looking to make a run for the senior world team without a doubt next year. Everybody keep an eye on her. Scotty Harris is looking to battle for an international spot next year for universities. So we have some up and coming. We have a girl, Mar, who's a 69 youth. She's up there as well. So we just got to kind of see how they're working.
Wow, that's quite the list, man. And that's awesome to hear how you guys are putting together, like you said, an army. That is really impressive. And you definitely spit out a lot of names that me and Bailey have seen a lot at the state championships. I think Bailey you got knocked out by Beauchamp last year, didn't you?
No, Beauchamp was the reason that I actually medaled because he ended up bumming out on clean and jerk.
Oh, okay. Oh.
He broke the state record in snatch. I will say that.
Yeah.
I was extremely afraid of him.
Yeah, that guy is just an absolute freak of nature, and that I'm excited to see where he's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So now, with where you guys are at and just the crazy numbers and crazy accomplishments that your team has had, where are you guys going? What's the future of AMP training?
All right. So the future of AMP training, what we've had our eyes set on since, definitely last year, in November. We did not expect to go into the state championship with our guys team and take second. I'll tell anybody out there, it's a battle in this state between, you have some of the strongest teams in the country just coming out from this state. That's why our Florida elite team is so strong and so dominant at every meet, is because we have so many elite level weightlifters. I mean, you have teams like us, you have teams like Bureau Beach Weightlifting, you have teams like Ape Squad, who are the current state champions of Florida. You have teams like Camargo. You got Miami Soul, you have Jack Nation, you have teams you have teams all over the place. So that's a very prestigious award if you can become the state champions. And last year, unfortunately, as you guys were saying, Derek Beauchamp broke the state record, and then he bombed out on clean and jerk. And then the very next session, our 85 dislocated his elbow.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was a back-to-back, very unfortunate current event, but we want to be the state champs, Ryan. That's clear as day. I want to be the men's and women's state champions in 2018. That's the goal every single year, and I want to produce more state champions and more national level lifters than anybody in the country.
That's awesome, man. And how are you going to get there? What are you going to do differently to get you to that next phase that you want to be in?
So my next goal right now, I'm opening up multiple locations around the United States. I'm trying to get into different locations just within the state of Florida. That's a big start. Last year, I purchased a gym in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. That's an untapped market up there. Iowa, I don't know if you guys know about wrestling in Iowa.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Wrestling in Iowa is big time.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And it's almost odd, but definitely a lot of wrestlers transition into weightlifting.
Yeah. We've had a lot of success with wrestlers and gymnasts that come into our gym. They're very, very successful athletes.
Yeah, definitely. We have a 94 on my team who is he's been working a while now, but he's really starting to become a stud. And it's definitely that I think the similar mentality of wrestling on understanding how to attack someone transitions very well into weightlifting, on understanding how to attack the weights and attack your training every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Aggressive athletes, and plus just the mindset that wrestlers have. They're fighters. I think wrestlers are probably some of the toughest athletes, if not the toughest athletes in the world. The training that they have to go through is ridiculous. So if they can get through that, if they can get through, slinging each other's bodies to the ground 24/7, they can battle a barbell that's not attacking them. They just got to. They know how to cut weight. They know how to fight through adversity. They know how to fight through pain. They're just tough. They're mentally tough, and I think that's what makes them some of the best transition over athletes.
Yeah, I agree, and it's you can definitely see that mentality come out in their whenever you see a lot of those after they've transitioned. You can see it come out in their training, the way that they handle all of those things, whether it's injury, volume, just attacking the bar day in and day out. I agree. It transitions very, very well. A lot like a football player, except I think football holds a little bit more of a team atmosphere idea, versus wrestling, as like weightlifting, it's you versus your opponent.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely another breeding pool for this gym. It's definitely football players. We do not lack that. We have a group of anywhere from 15 to 20 football players, and I get them when they're young. I get them at 6th and 7th grade and try and develop them at that age. That's what a lot of teams are missing. You can't just expect to try and create a world champion at start them at 17, 18 years old. You got to start them when they're 11, 12 years old. And that's on the later side. If you look at international teams, they got kids with PVC pipes and bamboo sticks at 4, 5, 6 years old, learning the movements, learning how to not ever be wrong. If you don't ever have to think about the movement, you'll become a champ real easy.
Yeah, and that's definitely a good point. Seeing social media and you see the younger lifters, but it is very well known that international, they don't have the same poor stereotyping that North Americans do of weightlifting is bad for youths. So it's definitely I got kind of an uphill battle. Now, on that note, what do you think the biggest block or barricade is for you to keep a youth athlete in your midst and for them not to go the football or wrestling or baseball route? Do you struggle with that at AMP training?
So the biggest thing I do is I create multiple sport athletes. I do not create weightlifters. We train GPT, multiple months out of the year. Most of my weightlifters do double sports, if not 3 sports, 4 sports. I get them into as many sports as possible. I was a 2-sport Division I athlete. Who can tell you? You see a lot of these kids. We have a lot of my weightlifters I also have into track and field, football. Some of them are in cheerleading. A couple of basketball kids, wrestlers. So I try to have them keep from burning out, because I kind of got burnt out a little bit in college football, because when you turn your sport into a job, it's no longer fun to do for you.
Right.
So especially being a younger kid, that's definitely what we do. We have them training not so much 24/7 on the barbell. Different jumps and different sprint events. Different throw events, just to keep them changing. I always tell people, you don't want to eat grilled chicken and broccoli every single meal of your life. You eventually want steak and sweet potatoes. So you got to just keep it changing up on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to back that up even more, the research shows us that at younger ages, under 16 years old, whenever an athlete begins to specify, injury rates go through the roof. So I can't agree more that having those younger athletes in multiple sports is a great way to keep them not only healthy, but to keep them from burning out, like you said, to keep them excited about training and sports and play in general.
Absolutely.
So looking at your athlete population, I assume it's predominantly youths. So would you consider what you do with them more strength and conditioning over direct weightlifting? How do you define it, or do you care to define it differently?
So we have a very diverse. I have a lot of youth athletes. I have a lot of junior athletes, and actually I do have a lot of senior athletes. Right now, currently, I want to say on my test last time I saw, we have 178 current athletes on the team for the roster right now.
That's insane. Wow. That's crazy.
So we have all different levels. We only have a few masters lifters. I'm searching. I want to go to Barcelona for sure, but it's those are going to be a little harder to find. But for the youth athletes, so much. By the time that they hit high school, we will train. By the time if I get them when they're in 6th grade, I try to do a lot of strength conditioning, GPP work, not so much time spent on the barbell, teaching them how to squat properly, how to pull properly, how to run properly, jump, be a good athlete. Because I think if you can take any real good athlete and put them into weightlifting, they excel, very rapidly.
Oh, yeah.
But it's giving them those movements that take thousands of reps, like you said, when you play when you're a kid. So I try to mimic that. We do tons of box jumps, lateral jumps, split jumps in every different angle. We do a lot of single leg stabilization stuff to work on the hip joint. I make them stretch more than I probably should, but I yell at them every single time. They still don't. A lot of them will stretch, and I keep telling them, because I'm 250 pounds right now, and I can do the splits both sides. So, you got to
That's pretty impressive.
It's real loose. But strength conditioning more so until you turn to about 15, 16 years old. If you think that that's the route you want to take, if you are battling for international spots, then you get a little bit more specified, geared towards weightlifting, obviously. That's going to be your career. But it kind of depends on the athlete. Depends on how they excel. Depends on what their interest level is in it. And it depends on, the parents as well. The parents play a huge part. If the parents don't want them in here, or they want them doing something else, the parents 90% of the time will not change their ways. They like to stay with, what they were there for or what they thought they wanted them to do.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. So I don't want to ask you to reveal any AMP training secrets here, but how in God's name do you write programs for all of those athletes?
178 is what you
guys
just said.
How do you guys write all of those programs? That's unreal.
Well, everybody's got the same 24 hours, and I've been building a team to help me with coaching for the last 5 years. This is not a one-man job for anybody. We actually just started up a powerlifting team as well. We're going to try and go win that state championship here next year as well. That's our next goal. We're trying to just be barbell sports, all over the place, just like a Juggernaut was, or Team MDUSA. I know they had a professional weightlifting team. We would love to get to those ranks eventually, but it all depends. I mean, the way that we program is depending on where you're at in the cycle, where you're at for your next meet. Are you qualifying for international competition? Are you trying to break international records? And now we have, the resetting all the weight classes. We have a couple people trying to get in to break some of the current state records for the state of Florida, and they're only going to have another couple months to do so. So, if you have to change up a program curveball in that, because if you get paid, so that's kind of where you go about it. We have a beginner program, so that's going to be a 3-time-a-week barbell class, learning fundamentals. We have an advanced program. You're training 2 times a day, anywhere up to 4 times a week. And that just depends. If your goal is the Olympics, then you better believe you're probably training 2 times a day for the most part. It's very hard to, try and keep that level of intensity up all the time, obviously with recovery rates, but you have to separate your groups. I have a lot of individualized programs right now. Right now I have 42 individualized programs that I write weekly or bi-weekly.
Wow.
That you have to change. So, and that's just me by myself. I'll show you my Google documents if you need to see them.
No, I believe
crazy.
it.
I have 6 remote athletes, and it's overwhelming.
It's very, very overwhelming, but, it pays off in the end. And I can't express how much, it means to me to be able to show these athletes off when they go out there and they all congratulate me or say thank me, and I just pretty much put them in the right direction. They did all the work.
Yeah, man. You're definitely that's definitely a great testament to putting in the time and the effort and getting to reap the rewards at a later date. Now, you mentioned about the new weight class changes, and this is something we've talked about amongst ourselves a lot. What are your thoughts on not only the reasoning but the idea behind doing the weight class changes that the IWF has decided to do? What are your thoughts?
All right, well, I think I'm going to let Luke take over on this very first part here, just because I know he's got some things to say about it as well.
Oh, please. Like I say, we've talked about this a ton.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something like I'd like to see some things change, hopefully, when they bring these new weight classes in. I don't know if you guys obviously would remember Ingve Shigashev with Russia's super heavy, I don't know, in the early 2010s or whatever. I really like to see them bring in like 120, maybe 115 or 125 class for kind of the guys that are in that in-between weight or that are really showing themselves to make 105. When there's a whole, sweet spot of lifters right there in that 115 to 130 kilo bodyweight range that are doing, crazy 200 kilo, 210 kilo snatches like Ingve was doing, but, he's getting silver to result today every single time. And it's like, if a guy's weighing 120 and snatching 210, in my eyes, he's a world champion,
For sure.
So I'd really like to see them do some justice for those guys with this change.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think there's a lot of things that could happen with the weight classes to make them better. I think the whole issue with all of it is that they're trying to solve a drug problem by changing weight classes? I really don't understand. None of us understand the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, that's not gonna. They're gonna find a way to cut weight. Some guys are gonna make them take more drugs because they're gonna try to move up a weight class to fill out their new weight. So I completely agree with you. It's asinine.
Yeah, and I'm sure you heard about it, but before they were like, oh, we're just going to change all of it, the IWF said, well, the 94 kilo weight class has the highest prevalence of getting popped with drugs, so we're just going to get rid of the 94 kilo class. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about that as well. It's just another one of those things where it's just like, what? They act like there aren't dopers in 85 or 105.
Right.
Or 77, 60. Like, there's dopers in every class.
Yeah.
Changing, getting rid of one weight class is not going to do anything.
Yeah,
I think it'll
agree.
make it worse because then you've got all those 94 guys that are now going to try to fill out a 105.
Yeah.
How are they going to fill out a 105?
Yeah, you're asking them to do drugs now. You're like forcing them to keep up.
Literally. Yep, literally. If your job is to feed your family by lifting weights, and now you can't feed your family anymore because you're too small. Well, now you're just going to do whatever it takes to not be that small, and so you can feed your family again. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what I'm afraid of is that now, instead of just doing that to the 94s, they're going to do that to every weight class. And that's what's scary with the point in time that we're at right now, because, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, weightlifting is on the verge of being taken out of the Olympics if the drug problem isn't fixed.
Absolutely. It's definitely, it's a huge problem. It's the same thing. I mean, wrestling had to deal with it in the 2012 games when they were ready to pull wrestling, All we can kind of do is hope that the other countries can kind of tighten up a little bit. I mean, that's really all you can ask for, because it's the stringent testing. I mean, unless WADA implements something like USADA is doing here, of like random testing constantly throughout the year and keeping people in the pool, I really think that's the whole way they're really going to put a dent in that drug problem, is if they're flying to these guys' gyms that they're training at in off Olympic years and trying to nab them then. Otherwise, it's, like we both said, it's just nothing's going to happen. It's going to encourage guys to take more drugs.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And I think the biggest problem, like you just said, is that there's no uniformity across the globe. It's only uniform whenever we come and try and compete together. But in the U.S., we're using USADA. Everybody else is using WADA, and there's no uniformity. Now, I think and I don't know the exact answer, but I think it comes down to, at some point, we're going to have to spend some more money, and some more money is going to have to be spent to do something like you're talking about, making sure these athletes are tested when they're not on the platform in the international level, making sure that everybody's being tested all the time. And I think that's the only answer if we're going to make it not okay for everybody. And to kind of go back to what I was saying, the problem is right now, the way that we act on the international level is that it's okay for some, it's not okay for everybody. It's either got to be okay for everybody or not okay for everybody.
Exactly. That's nail on the head. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. So I hope to see it get better. Like I say, if I knew the answer, I might write somebody a letter, but I don't know the answer. So
I actually got a question for you guys here.
Oh, let's hear it.
How do you guys feel about the 10 weight classes up until the Olympic year, and then they cut it to 7? Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do it in wrestling.
So how do you feel that, wouldn't you think it would just be smarter to start training now for the 2020 games and make it 7 and get these athletes ready in the weight classes they should try to be performing in?
So I think the question to the question is what comes with that, right? So if, like wrestling does it, like they cut it down. If I'm going to be an athlete where I'm only going to compete for the Olympics, which is nobody, right? Then I'm going to train specifically for that weight class versus, training at this high weight class and then dropping or whatever it looks like. I think obviously they took it from wrestling, but I think wrestling works very, very differently from weightlifting. You know, if I'm a wrestler, I can cut down 10, 20 pounds and it's not going to affect me very much. Well, it'll affect them, but not as heavily as it will a weightlifter.
Right.
I mean, you're giving up kilos. It's pretty asinine.
And it doesn't even work that well for wrestlers because there's a lot of world team wrestlers that when it comes to the Olympic year, they don't make it to the Olympics or vice versa, whatever it is. They just don't have the performance capabilities that they have at the weight that they're naturally comfortable at.
Right. Absolutely. I agree 100%.
So I think unanimously we are against it, to say the least.
That's easy to say.
I don't think it's an appropriate approach to, again, try and manage a problem that has nothing to do with weight classes.
Yeah. What do you guys think? What is your take on the issue?
I just think, me personally, on the women's side, if they're going to, I guess internationally, you can argue that on the men's side, because if you go to any, I've been at every single big time national meet for USAW for the last 4 years, and if you ever see the 56 class, it's always very, very thin. Because I'm sorry, over here, it's hard to be a weightlifter and weigh, 126 pounds or 125.9 pounds, whatever it is. And internationally, you do have a lot of Asian countries where, the height difference is better. I think that they'll keep that for here, but I don't see the point. I don't exactly even know how they're going to go about 10 women's weight classes unless they're going to take 5 kilo jumps all the way from 50, 55, 60, 65, all the way up to the 90s now.
Yeah.
The 90s are already very, very thin right now. So what are they going to do? Add in 100? So I'm just I'm interested because I have lifters at all different weight classes. So I'll shuffle them around and I'm always ready for it. But I'm interested to see exactly what they do with the women's classes. I think they're just going to be too thin.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's we're in definitely a very interesting time in weightlifting, and it's gonna be pretty crazy to see where it goes from here. Where the decisions that all these old guys sitting in an office somewhere are making that affects athletes.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's about us time. Well, time for us to head out. Do you guys have any last words of encouragement, advice to weightlifters?
Plugs. Drop some plugs.
Yeah, let's hear your plugs. Your plugs. Social, Facebook, email, phone number, whatever.
You can reach out. You can follow us at amp_386 or no, it's amptraining_386. We're not, I'm not going to be out there having the 50,000 followers, the 100,000 followers, guys. We are, we're really genuine people. We're hanging out guys just like you guys. We just try to work hard. We try to create a good time, an atmosphere. We have an apparel company. It's called PR City Apparel. If you guys want to go check us out on Instagram, we got a lot of that's more for fun. So if you guys ever need shout outs, we can throw you some gear. That's just for, anytime you hit a PR. Everybody loves PRs and weightlifting.
Nice.
I couldn't see it enough. That's the only reason we do weightlifting half the time is to try and hit another PR. That's the only time you're really excited.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But besides that, we just really appreciate you guys having us on the show, man.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. Look forward to competing against you guys coming in the years.
All right, I look forward to hearing you guys.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. And this is the Weightlifting Way of Life podcast with Andrew and Luke and Amp Training. Thank you guys for being on. And we're just a coach, a PT, an athlete, and a couple weightlifting coaches talking nonsense, barbell, and everything fitness. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.